Make sure you're good, make sure you're proud of what you do, and make sure you're aligned with the goal. So you have to really tune out all the noise of the system sometimes. And so I would say to anybody being like, how do I stay aligned? How do I stay fulfilled? You really have to tune out the noise and really reconnect with your source. The fruits start at the root. So clean out any like bad messaging, any fears, any self-limiting beliefs, things that are no longer working for you. If it doesn't fit, leave it. You don't have to carry everything with you
Yeah.
everywhere. So like, look to the light, look to your goals and just like let that lead you. It's like a very we talk about push pull. It's a very led way to be. I wake up and my North Star is I want to have peace. I want to have pleasure. I want to have fun, and it's very easy to edit my day according to that. Not everything is fun, but I'm like, oh, I guess I do have to pay my taxes if I want this next, what I mean? Little things, then that's worth it. Anything
Yeah.
else, stop doing all these little tasks that add up and they don't lead you to where you want to go. And be led by yourself, not outside systems or voices. So if you have any opportunity, just any angle, make it through, go through that door. Don't be afraid of it. Nothing bad will happen to you. Only bad things will happen to you if you stay prescribed to the life that's been prescribed for you. And I just don't believe in that. God
Yeah.
didn't put me in this life to just perform and show off and get press. And that's not what anybody wants for you. The people that love you don't want that for you. The people you're performing for do. And guess what? It'll never be enough for them. It'll never be enough for them. So stop trying. Like the people that you're enough for, spend time there. You can nourish there. You can grow from there. We're not meant to do all this stuff alone. You will break. You will break, y'all. Easily, one of the most exponential things I did for my career was join communities. You and I are both a part of the list. Shout out to the list.
Yeah.
And I've been a member since my very first, before I'd even gone on Shark Tank. And I would not be here without those women.
All right. You did so good last time, by the way. All your isms are amazing. You're
I
so funny.
gotta remember, bring the book.
You said something about like Rick Rossing it, and I'm like, wait, what?
I used to say that all the time when he was, because I was in like college when he was the man. So like
Yeah.
he was a boss. And that's why I was like, yeah, I'm a boss too.
We are recording. We are live. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Power of Why podcast. My name is Naomi Haile, and today we are here with the incredible Bea Arthur. Bea, what's going on?
Hey girl, hey Naomi's audience. I'm so happy to be here back at it again with the back at it again. We tried a part one and I was in my parents' house and the Wi-Fi was not Wi-Fiing. So since then I have moved to Mexico City for the next chapter of my journey. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to tell you what I'm up to. And I'm hopefully hoping to relate to some of your readers about this identity crisis and the beautiful things that can happen afterwards. So thank you for having me.
Wow. Yeah, we did a whole part one, and we're like, let's finish the recording in your new city.
Yes.
And so I'm grateful that you made the time, Bea. And I think this is a very special time to be having this conversation, just given what's happening in the world. I think what people are internally navigating, just the importance of everything that you stand for around community and taking agency over your life. And so for everyone listening, Bea is a Columbia University trained psychotherapist, an award-winning entrepreneur, a TEDx speaker, and a true pioneer in the field of mental health. Bea has been named an entrepreneur to bet on by Newsweek and one of the 100 most inspirational New Yorkers by Bumble. Bea started her career as a social worker where she served addicts in recovery, survivors of domestic violence, and students in the New York City public school system. She's
Yeah.
always been passionate about lifting people up and decided to scale her gift in the tech world. In 2011, her career took off at the intersection of psychology and tech when her first startup, Pretty Padded Room, which is such a great name, competed on ABC's Shark Tank, which put online therapy on the map. And in 2014, she became the first African American female founder accepted by Y Combinator accelerator program. If you know, you know. So 8 years ago, she launched her second startup called The Difference, which was the very first Alexa skill for easy access therapy. And now, boom, boom, she is a first-time author. So her book, is called The White Man Within, where she tells her story, how she created her own path to success and how you can too. So,
Great.
B, welcome to the show. I'd love for you to get started by sharing a little bit about your origin story and how you grew up.
Yes, well, thank you for having me and thank you for reminding me who I am. I know as ambitious women, we all get on track. This country, this culture tries to tell us it's not enough. What we've done is not enough. But if you are a brown woman, a woman, period, there's still places where you're not allowed to read. So be proud of yourself and your accomplishments. Be amazed by yourself and anything's possible. And that is the goal of my book, The White Man Within, to stop living a life of limits and like putting yourself in a box. And we live in this prism of isms, racism, sexism, ageism, but all that's made up. Somebody else made that up. You can make up your own messaging, your own motivation. And that's what I did. So how did I begin? Little Bea Arthur. There's another Bea Arthur, you may have heard of her. I'm a first generation American. My family is from Ghana and West Africa, and Ghanaians are very religious, very hardworking, and very believing in education. And my parents came here to make a difference. They didn't want to hear no excuses. They weren't allowed to have excuses. So we were raised with a lot of discipline. Unfortunately, I was raised with a lot of Americans, meaning I got that flavor of entitlement and that capitalism, that greed planted in me very early. And that's kind of where the origins of my book, The White Man Within, came. I started out in gifted and talented programs, but I was very, what's the word, rambunctious, rebellious. I talked back a lot, but I made good grades. So to the point that by the time it was time to graduate college, I was like, get me the fuck up out of Texas. Texas is a great place to grow up. Beyonce is from Houston. Megan Thee Stallion, Lizzo, Solange, NASA, all the baddies are from Houston, Texas. It's in particular for representation, a lot of middle and upper class brown and black people. And also my mother is an entrepreneur. Both of my parents have postgraduate degrees. So there wasn't anything in my mind that made me feel small. Everything seemed possible to me, except I wasn't being treated that way. I was always getting in trouble at church, at school. I got kicked out of my first high school for talking back all the time. And interestingly enough, I always think things work out for me. Every time something bad has happened to me, I always say, like, don't let your pain be in vain. If you're going to go through hell, get something for the gift shop. And every time something bad has happened to me, I reset, reflect, and I just go in the other direction. Houston was really hard on me as a young kid who like was supposed to, had a lot of energy, but was told to like stop talking so much, stop being so much, stop. And then once I went to undergrad, I went to undergrad in Boston at Emerson College for broadcast journalism. And once I got there, it all fell off. I was doing internships, I was making good grades because people got out of my way and I could get out of my own way. I knew who I was, I knew what I wanted to do, but people were always telling me not to do that. And like I said, my white man was like, stop telling me what to do. And so I just did what I wanted to do. So I went to college. I did like how cold Boston was. So then I went to study abroad. I got to move to Spain. I got engaged. I became fluent in Spanish. And that's why estoy aquí en Mexico. And yeah, then I went to France, then I went to London. I just kept studying abroad because it was cheaper than the American school system. I graduated. I didn't want to leave Europe, but I did because I think I got deported and in London. And I said, well, I'm not going back to Texas. So I moved to New York. I was very ambitious, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I crashed and burned a lot. I was in real estate. I worked at Bloomberg. I temped a lot. I worked in art galleries. I just kept trying. And finally, I figured out that what was really good for me was client facing roles. Because when I was in real estate, I really believe in the low pressure sell. Like I just like to kick it. Like that's the secret to my success. I'm just cool to kick it with. And I would get a lot of also I'm mad nosy. So I am an immigrant. Immigrants are very nosy. We love to gossip. And I would just be like, oh, when I was in real estate, I was like, do you really think you want to live with him? Like, oh, do you really think you want to have kids with her? Like, think about your future. And buying real estate is a very personal experience. And because I would really help people, I didn't care about the sell. I kept cared about you getting in the right place. I would get a lot of referrals, and all my coworkers would be like, "How are you? You don't even come to work on time. How are you getting so many referrals?" And one of my clients said, "It's because people like and trust you. You're easy to talk to. You should be a therapist." And I took that. every time like life is sending you signals, like really pay attention when something makes you speechless, especially if you're a yapper. If something makes you still, pay attention to that. And I shadowed one class at Columbia University. My friend Jasmine was also in real estate. It was the only school I applied to. I got in, and that is where I was meant to be. That's where I really started my foundation in New York City as a therapist.
Wow. I love what you said about if something stops you and makes you speechless, pay attention to what that is. You've done so many different things. You've seen so many different parts of the world. When your friend said that to you initially, had that ever crossed your mind? I want to be a therapist growing up, growing up being raised in Houston, and just seeing so many different aspects of what work can look like. Did that ever cross your mind on your own without that external nudge to check it out?
Actually, looking back, yes. So, like I mentioned, I wasn't a troubled child, but by African standards, like your parents, you're supposed to cook and clean and work and respect your parents and go to church. And I wasn't trying to hear all that. I wanted to party, I wanted like, party with the white boys. And so when I was getting in trouble a lot, the
Yeah.
school that I was at before they kicked me out, they were like, you need to get on your daughter needs to get on antidepressants or we're going to kick her out because I was there on magnet. Like I was in zone to that school. And my parents, we have businesses in Houston. We have assisted living centers with elderly and mentally retarded adults. They've seen the effects that medication abused, overuse can have on people's personality, minds, development, especially I was really young. They really didn't want me to. But the school said I was going to get kicked out if they didn't take my outburst seriously. I was just talking back a lot. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to disrupt the mental health industry because they diagnosed me as having bipolar disorder. They said I had something called oppositional defiant disorder. And looking back, I'm like, wait, so every kid who questions authority is
Right.
mentally ill?
Right.
You're telling me I'm gifted and talented, but I'm also just because like I'm talking back, we could have done smaller schools. Anyways, um, it was really tough, my parents, because as I mentioned, African parents are strict and expect excellence, but it was even harder for me. You know what I mean? Like they didn't know how to deal with me, but neither did I. And now that I'm older, again, I wasn't getting pregnant. I wasn't selling Molly. I tried selling Molly, but I wasn't good at it because I just gave it away. Um, but I wasn't like one of those troubled children. I was just had a lot of emotions. So when I got into Columbia, I specifically wanted to study adolescent psychology. I worked in the
Mm.
New York City public school system. I wanted to work with actual kids because hormones are no joke. Like we don't factor it in as part of like the mental health journey. But ask any pregnant woman, ask a kid going through puberty, ask anybody going through menopause. Hormones affect how you are. And y'all can't tell, but I'm like a very busty lady. And so my hormones came through hard and really affected me and affected my energy and my environment. And so I was really glad to actually learn what was wrong with me and how I didn't have to make things so hard on myself and the people I cared about. So I was definitely meant to be in the mental health world in the healing space because I love people. I have so much what's the word? I have so much love for young B. She didn't
Mm.
want to be getting in trouble. She didn't want to disappoint her parents. She didn't want to disrespect, her Sunday school teachers. She just wanted to be heard, and so I think everybody deserves to be heard on a bad day, on a good day, to be fully seen, to be fully themselves. Like that is just so beautiful for me. And I want everybody to have that. So yeah, mental health, that was a full circle moment, getting in that place and being able to change the future of mental health because back then therapy was only meant to be for rich people or
Yeah.
truly crazy people. And yeah, like that says anything that happened to me, I don't want it to happen to anybody else. And yeah, so God put me there to do my thing and make a difference for
Wow.
people with too many feelings.
I
Yeah.
never heard you articulate why you ended up in this space and why your mission is so strong. But there are so many children. I mean,
Mm.
even my bro, like on a personal note, even my brother was um, made to feel like he couldn't express himself in certain ways. Kids have lots of
Oh,
energy, and so I think the immediate, especially for Black kids, the immediate, this is what you are and this is the container
mhm.
that you need to operate in is so detrimental.
Yeah.
But having you being able to support other kids, I mentioned earlier in your bio in the New York public school system, and just everywhere that you've taken this conversation in tech, in different spaces is phenomenal. And so for you right now, you have started a new journey and you're on a new season of being a writer. I'm sure you've always had that in you, just your perception of the world and wanting to make meaning out of it. What drew you to really wanting to write this book now and in this period?
Yes. So like I said, I just think it feels so good to be yourself. And even though I'm very myself and very authentic, I really was conforming and contorting when I entered the tech world. I
Mhm.
foolishly believed in equality. I was like,
Yep.
yeah, if I work hard and I follow these rules, I could have the Mark Zuckerberg path. I could be on the Elon Musk path. And this is one of the key things. The rules that we are taught as women and people of color are not the same rules that they follow at the top. Spiritually, we believe that, what's below doesn't know what's above, but what's above knows what's below. And that is real because, again, if you were taught to just come to America, work hard, study, you'll be successful, never complain, that is not how the world works. So I'm really lucky. I did my thing. My first company was Pretty Padded Room. We were on Shark Tank, we were on NPR. Then with the difference, I got to work with Amazon and MetLife, Sonos, Forbes. I've done a lot. And it was just from continually going after what I wanted. In my case, especially, ignorance was bliss. When I applied to Shark Tank, I had never seen a single episode. When I applied to Y Combinator, I hadn't heard of it. So for me, it wasn't as intimidating. I didn't believe that I couldn't have it. Again, I have always thought that I can and should have whatever I wanted. I mean, that's my white man within. Like, I think I'm so greedy. God gave me really hungry eyes. So like everything I say, I'm like, yeah, I want it and I should have that. Um, and so when people were trying to keep me out of places, I was always confused, like, what's going on? But my time in the startup world, even though I did my thing, was very, I would say, spiritually and emotionally injurious. You take a lot of hits on your heart, on your confidence. You're really confused because you're doing everything right and still not seeing the same results as your non-melanin friends. And I don't like to rely on racism or sexism because I've overcome it, but it can be an actual barrier. And worse, it really messes with your head because when you are a business person, you really tie your self-worth to your work. And if you're not advancing as much as you should, and especially in a place like New York, all of my friends raised money. Most of my friends have done TED Talks. It will make you feel like you're so small, which is a real mind fuck. You are out here on stages your ancestors could have never dreamed of, and it's still not enough by business standards, by San Francisco standards. By the time last year, when the last 2 years were tough, I had a really intense professional identity crisis because I've only done mental health, I've only done startups. And slowly I just realized it wasn't fulfilling me anymore. I was miserable. I was accomplishing a lot. I got to fly my parents to Hawaii. I was working with really big time people. The NFL hit me up, the government hit me up, HBO hit me up. And I was like so exhausted. And I was like, damn, like maybe business is just for men, like because like I have like male problems and I have women problems. You know what I mean? Like, was feminism wrong and capitalism right? Should I have just gone to the gym instead of grad school? Why am I working so hard and so fucking miserable?
Mm,
And then I had asked around. So, like, as a therapist, people will say fucked up shit to you about their own lives, about you, all sorts of
for
stuff. You
sure.
have to not take it personally. So, I actually really appreciate when people say problematic things about me because I think you can learn something from anyone, and not just problematic things about me, but problematic things in general. And one time, a very wealthy man said to me, he goes, "I'm going to tell you a secret. Only poor people work hard." He's like, this is something everybody knows. If you were born generationally, you have assets, you can live off your stocks, like, and then I talked to some of my other friends about it. Just like what again, anything that makes me speechless makes me still. I asked somebody else about it. One of my investors was like, yeah, like I've always wondered why you're always working so hard. He's like, I'm also a CEO, but I have 13 people beneath me and they have their own teams, right? I just approve and manage budgets. He's like, you still work a lot. He's like, you're more of a founder than a CEO. And then I asked another bro, these white men be really preaching sometimes. They got gems if you let them. And he was like, yeah, we raised 10 million and then I just hired a CEO. I'm just like strategically there. And again, it's really important to just like pay attention to how you're moving and how things are. You have to get onto the page of how things are because the more you resist, the more you're like holding yourself back. So you have to just accept what things are. Maybe it shouldn't be that way. Maybe there should be pedophiles as presidents, but that's what it is, right? Like you have to like the first step is awareness and acceptance, and then you can adjust accordingly. Then I started moving like a white man, and like it was just a whole different movie. It was just a lot less friction. a lot more understanding. And yeah, I just don't want anybody to suffer the way I did. Being the good girl and trying to play your role and prove yourself is exhausting. There is no reward for suffering, but there is a reward for capitalism. Yeah, and it's very sexy getting money. I wish more bitches got money, and that's what I'm trying to do with the book.
So, you mentioned moving like a white man and essentially rewriting the rules that you've been trained and most people are trained on.
Yeah.
If you were like, and what I think is also interesting is that you're pulling from so many different aspects of the lives you've lived, right? Because you've been in so many different spaces. So, as, a therapist, who has like incredible listening skills and you're able to see things that may not be obvious to most people. As a Black woman, as a builder, what does it mean to move like a white man if you can go in greater detail? And how did you rewrite your own rules for what it means to do things the way that you want to, ultimately with the goal of living a better life, like living a higher quality life?
Yes, living the life you want and you deserve, like nobody gets to say because you're a Black woman, you can't be successful. I just don't believe that, I just don't believe that. No one gets to say, oh, well, only 2.2% of Black women can raise money. Okay, well, that's not my experience because guess what? I've raised money. I've raised over $1 million. I'm one of 0.2%. So statistically, I'm impossible. And yet here I am, girl bossing it, Rick Rossing, you see me. It's possible. And I
Yeah.
think what it is when I say move like a white man, and not just a white man, any man, unfortunately, and I love you men, don't come for me, but what I've observed when it comes to the way women think and operate and the way men think and operate is women analyze and men act. Women analyze and men act. There's a lot of overthinking. There's a lot of, okay, I have to come in this way. Oh, I should ask this person. This has to be perfect. Versus you will get a lot more times at bat by just walking up to the bat and trying. Men tend to have a higher risk tolerance. And unfortunately, women are very community minded and empathy minded. And being a man means just not thinking about other people. you know,
Oh my God.
if you want to do something, you don't do it. You don't go, oh, well, my mom has a thing that day, or oh, well, my wife did say I should come home after work. It's like
So
that's
just
being a little selfish and self-centered. And this is the secret of the patriarchy. They're not actually self-centered. The culture has centered them, has put them in a place where they are at the top of the pyramid. And that's all they see, what's above, what's possible. If you're on the ground, you're still trying to figure out how to get up the mountain. That's survival. We're evolving up here. It's when you're in rare air, you see how people move. It just moves a lot easier because there's more green lights, there's more opportunities versus so many people are just surviving. Like, how can I pay rent next month? How can I? You can't dream. I've had
Mhm.
two companies not work out, two of my own and one of somebody else's, right? Think about that. Like I have had companies be negative and I've also had to support myself and travel around the world and things like that.
Yeah.
Most people at the top do that. Like Facebook didn't make a single dollar of revenue for 5 years, not profit, revenue for 5 years. They had the freedom to dream, they had the freedom to build, they had the support. And that is something that a lot of women don't have, right? You're just like stuck on the stock trying to make things happen. You're spread really wide instead of building tall. And so once you see that that's how things are actually accomplished, not by working hard and sacrificing, that's the last man who sacrificed was Jesus Christ. And that was what, 26 years ago? It's not a real thing, ladies. Stop listening. Stop make everybody try to think you have to behave. That's not really how it is. Like nobody becomes successful by behaving and following the rules. So yeah, when I started Pretty Padded Room, everybody said, oh, it's illegal to practice about state lines, across state lines. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's what I'm going to do though. And nothing happened. Nothing bad happened. And
Mhm.
literally started that company in 2010, 2011. It was other therapists being like, you can't do that in case of crisis. And now, 15 years later, online therapy is the norm. I invented
It is
that.
the norm. Hmm.
I invented that. I was there. I said, this needs to exist. I need it. I want it. And I should have whatever I want. I genuinely believe that. That's programming in me. I think that you have to program yourself with your own beliefs because otherwise you will just stay stuck in what already exists. Like we are here to evolve. That's a point of life. Life is change. Change is good. Life is good. And that's my motto.
Yeah. And if, yeah, if there's a resistance around change is good, people won't be able to build the lives they want because that is the only constant. And you are seeing it especially right now.
Hmm.
Um,
And you might as well be in charge of the change instead of being
yeah.
reactive and letting things happen. And now your life looks limited. Like now women don't have as many rights. Now we don't have as many voting rights. Now, you know what I mean? And
So
like
much has rolled back, B.
literally rolled back. And so I reject that and I moved to Mexico. They've got a lady president. She's pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like we options are the key to freedom. True freedom are having agency and controlling your life. And right now things feel so out of control. So that's why sometimes, even though my
Mhm.
book is called The White Man Within, my first principle is decenter the default. Doing things that way is not going to get you your way. And that is the goal. You want your way, not from a child perspective, but your life should be the way you want. Like right now, everybody in content calls themselves a creator because they are creating their own worlds. And I think that everybody should be blessed. If you are blessed with free country, and education and opportunity, you owe it to the odds to do that. We are from first generation from African countries. There are places women's clitorises are scraped off. They don't have school fees to go to school. Both of my parents weren't allowed to go to school. We had other relatives make it possible. When I go back to Ghana, there are girls that are prettier than me and nicer than me and smarter than me and more hardworking than me, and yet they will not have the opportunities that I have. So if you have any opportunity, just any angle, make it through. Go through that door. Don't be afraid of it. Nothing bad will happen to you. Only bad things will happen to you if you stay prescribed to the life that's been prescribed for you. And I just don't believe in that.
For those who are listening that have done everything quote unquote technically right and are still unsatisfied,
Fulfilled,
um,
misaligned,
yeah,
disappointed,
miss some,
betrayed, burned out.
yeah,
That was me, baby.
like dysregulated. The list goes on and on, right?
Yeah, it's endless. Yeah. It's a mistake. To contort and conform yourself, you will be misshapen, you will be misformed. You will not be in your true self if you are trying to be in this little box. So I think it's a beautiful thing. It's an important thing that happens. Life and death happen at the same time, but there is always life after that. And you know what? The same thing I wanted at 20 is not the same thing I wanted at 30. I'm 42 now. I do not want the same things I want when I'm 22. So sometimes, unfortunately, for things to end, they have to end badly. So even if it feels very painful or betrayal or you got burnt out, or I mean, I know plenty of people, Microsoft, Google, they did everything right. They climbed the ladder, and now they're getting unceremoniously fired and they've got mortgages and a lifestyle and kids, in like private school and stuff. And they've never been entrepreneurs and they don't know what to do. Now, me, I'm a always eat. I'm pretty sure I was a big cat in my last life. I'm a hunter. This is another man mindset that I have. I don't wait to eat. I will always eat. And I know that about myself. It's really important to develop that hunger. It's really important to develop that hunger, but only for what you want. Not because somebody said you should have two kids and a picket fence. Not because somebody said you have to be like a good girl and faithful. I do what I want. You do what you want. That is the point of being here. Ladies, fellas, they, thems. Find your desire. One of my favorite books is this book called Unbound, A Woman's Guide to Power. And she literally says your desire is your destiny. Not everybody wants the same thing. So if there's been a desire or a dream in your heart, you have a responsibility to go after it. And that feels good. I have lots of regrets in my career. I raised a lot of money. I made a lot of money. I should have kept a lot more for myself, but I was obsessed with that business. I sacrificed a lot. That's what sacrifice means, to make it sacred. So make it worth it. Life is
Mm.
hard. I'm making it sound easy. Like I can look back on it and I did a lot. It was brutal. Hourly, you are rejected and you still have to smile and show up and perform and be a good manager friend. I was a good manager, horrible friend, horrible girlfriend. I've only been faithful to one person my whole life, kind of. Uh, Horrible sister. You know what I mean? I really was a shitty friend. And once those companies go away, all that I had was my friends and family, you
Yeah.
know? And this is something, now I know it's called the white man within, but at the end, I really do lean into a women's way of doing things. What would a matriarchy look like?
Mm.
And I think that we have to prioritize our relationships because as you see, the confidence of a white man is unearned. Trump is not acting like a truly confident person, insecure, loudmouth, lying all the time. So even with everything, even Elon Musk is like, yeah, I guess money doesn't buy you happiness. He has all these kids, all these businesses, and he apparently doesn't have any real friends. He finds his joy trolling on Twitter. I would not trade $1 trillion for that kind of life. It's kind of sad because unfortunately, when we talk about centering men, they are raised in dominance. They are raised to
Yeah.
be simple and to be selfish. No society can survive like that. So women are raised to be caring and complicated and complex in order to support their messed up mentality that it's all about being selfish. But we humans are tribal creatures. We are here to be together. Humans are the only animals that deny their instincts. And that's what I'm saying. Pay attention to your dreams and desires. Pay attention to the voices. Pay attention to the things that make you pay attention. You know, coincidences are God's way of saying anonymous. And so whenever you get this signal, like tune in to that frequency. That's another one of my mottos. Really feed that frequency. Wherever feels good, spend more time there. Don't get back on your phone. Don't be like, oh, I should be, making content because someone said they should. Do what you want to do. Like that is the biggest privilege, even more than white privilege, to be able to do what you want to do and
Mhm.
be proud of that. So I have regrets about how I did my career, but I'm really proud that I did what I wanted to do and I made it all happen. And that's what gave me my confidence. I'm a goddess out here. I can do whatever I want.
I love that.
Believe in yourselves, kids.
Yeah, when people think about patriarchy, you'd mentioned things like dominance, competition, linear thinking. It is very harmful to society. And all the isms that you mentioned at the top of this conversation all track back to the patriarchy. Speaking to community, like you talk a lot about how we're not supposed to be out here trying to figure these things out on our own.
Yes.
Just the value of community, the value of relationships, the value of collaboration. Because as much as the system harms women, it also harms men. It harms everybody. How do you look at playing within the system, but also making sure that those around you can see their light and just tune back into who they are and just have self-awareness really at the end of the day?
Yes, that's a good question. Like you said, it is harmful to everybody. Men commit 80% of homicides and 80% of suicides. Like I said, I've embodied a man. It is a lot of pressure to be constantly performing, constantly providing, feeling like a human ATM. Like I've had employees treat me like I only started this company to pay their mortgage. It doesn't feel good, right? But they
Yeah.
put themselves in a place where, everybody looks to them. But if we shared the load, if we share the load, it's a lot more sustainable. It's infinitely scalable. That's why it all goes together. In Spanish, we're here in Mexico. In Spanish, they have a saying that says, dolor compartida es dolor de vida, which means pain shared is pain had. We're not meant to do all this stuff alone. You will break. You will break, y'all. Easily, one of the most exponential things I did for my career was join communities. You and I are both a part of the list. Shout out to the list.
Yeah.
And I've been a member since God, my very first, before I'd even gone on Shark Tank. And I would not be here without those women. It was just women. It was a free platform at the time. And it was just women who were in careers. And they like to say that women are competitive and catty. Again, that's a man thing. Don't project that to us. Not on this side. Everybody
Yeah.
is so supportive. And it may have been because we weren't competing. We were all either entrepreneurs or creatives. So we all had our own things. We didn't, but we wanted the same thing for each other. And as you know, when you see a boss bitch, she's been through a lot. We exist in
Yeah.
this currently. And so there was a lot of like, I understand what you're going through. I don't want you to go through that. That investor's going to waste your time. That investor's going to try to rape you.
Mm.
Like, was a lot of looking out for each other. And then also we just respect, part of my story is that I'm an immigrant's kid. Even though I burnt out and I don't think we should be working as hard as we're working, I got it. And so similarly, I think women would see somebody, you know what, you're doing your thing. Let's collab on something. Would not have gotten on
Yeah.
any of those things without mentorship, community, co-working. So yeah, please join a community. It doesn't even have to be formal. It definitely doesn't have to be paid, but like your environment is your algorithm. So really
Yeah.
nourish your soil. Chapter in my book called Strong Seed, Wrong Soil. In the startup world, they just only saw me as a Black girl, period. It didn't matter that I was making 50,000 a month. It didn't matter that I'd gotten press without paying it. It didn't matter that I'd got Amazon and Google without an enterprise salesperson. They still were just like, okay, yeah, but I don't get it. You're a Black girl or whatever. Well, guess what? Not all men are like that. And not all men are in power. There are people who just see me for what I have to offer, which is good. Make sure you're good, make sure you're proud of what you do, and make sure you're aligned with the goal. So you have to really tune out all the noise of the system sometimes. And so I would say to anybody being like, how do I stay aligned? How do I stay fulfilled? You really have to tune out the noise and really reconnect with your source. The fruits start at the root. So clean out any like bad messaging, any fears, any self-limiting beliefs, things that are no longer working for you. If it doesn't fit, leave it. You don't have to carry everything with you
Yeah.
everywhere. So like, look to the light, look to your goals, and just like let that lead you. It's like a very we talk about push pull. It's a very led way to be. I wake up and my North Star is I want to have peace. I want to have pleasure. I want to have fun, and it's very easy to edit my day according to that. Not everything is fun, but I'm like, oh, I guess I do have to pay my taxes if I want this next, what I mean? Little things, then that's worth it. Anything
Yeah.
else, stop doing all these little tasks that add up and they don't lead you to where you want to go. Be led, and be led by yourself, not outside systems or voices.
I'm so curious, B, because when you mentioned like you don't have to carry everything with you wherever you go, it made me think about the daily practice and almost that hygiene of
Mm.
wellness and making sure that you're filling your cup and you're well. Like I interviewed someone last week for the podcast, and we talked all about financial wellness. And then I interviewed somebody else, and we talked about physical wellness and like strength building. And so, from a mental health perspective and overall well-being, and just you tuning into one voice, what is your daily practice for staying grounded and not being swept up by every single thing that is out there?
Yeah. I mean, I should give you all good advice. Like, don't look at your phone first thing in the morning, work out, do breath work. I could tell you that. Somebody else told you that though. I'm gonna tell and I'm gonna tell you my truth. So I am a really big believer in I don't call it a morning meditation. I don't call it anything, but I really like to start the day slow. And I'm aware that that's a privilege. I really like to start the day slow. I don't like to let other voices in. So I like to look at Pinterest. This is my own hack. There's a lot of pretty things on there. Pinterest, stop putting AI on there because it's kind of ruining the experience. But I like to, I have my own mood boards. I have my vision boards there. I have my goals there. I also really like, I hate how Apple steals our data, but I love how they put together those movies and featured memories because the last 10 years was a blur. I was really grinding. I'm still forgiving myself for that, but I love those
Mm.
pictures because it showed me that I still had a good time. I still traveled. I still went to shows. My nieces and nephews were born. All my lovers that I've had, I still had a lot of fun, and those literally help me remind me who I am. Again, I really have to constantly remind myself that I am not my work. My value is in my
Mhm.
person. My time is now. This life is for me to create however I want. And I really like to see the times that I've had fun. I'm really blessed to still have a family. I know not everybody has good family members, but I'm really close to my parents and my sisters. So yeah, I start the morning doing what I want to do, looking at things I like. I like to take a walk in the park. I'm a pothead. Um, you know, There's things that feel good. And then I feel settled. And then I can look, I mean, look at all the stuff I have to do today. I got like my list have list. But then I could do it because I start feeling solid. I don't operate at a deficit. I like,
Mm.
yeah, you have to start with a full tank of gas before you leave the house.
Yeah, absolutely. For you right now, you've been to Mexico City a few times before choosing it as your home. How has being in a new environment and settling into this new, how much of the formula is your environment and where you are for your
Hmm.
wellness and your advancement?
Actually been surprised at how much of an unlock it's been. I love New York very deeply. I mean, a big part of who I am. I couldn't have done everything I've done without there. I miss it. I miss my friends. It really worked for me on a lot of levels. However, I mean, I mean, it's just a lot going on. You work hard, you party hard, you play hard, and I first of all had to do it for money. Like they had raised my rent again. Shout out to Harlem, but Harlem was getting ridiculous. And I needed to lower my expenses and I needed
Yeah,
needed to lower my stress level.
yeah.
Writing a book is really hard. It's very expensive. I decided to self-publish. I also decided to do it as an audiobook because I think I'm more improv than like stand-up writing is, talking is easier than writing for me. And yeah, just again, quieting out the noise and also just I hate to say it, I feel more like a white man because the dollar goes a lot further. So again, I'm not in survival mode. Like in New York, you can still do a lot, but it just most of your time you have to work a lot to afford living there. And I can work a lot less. So I have a lot less consulting contracts. I just get to like consult, take my clients, and write my book. Also, like you feel like delighted, like you can go out and like have a nice breakfast in a cheap cab and not spend more than $30 a day. So I feel comfortable, like to be millennials aren't financially comfortable. Like you can make
Mm.
$200,000 a year in New York and still be living paycheck to paycheck and not have savings and not be able to grow, and that's the problem. When you are in survival mode, you can't grow. So I have a lot more room in my mental energy, my physical body, to create. So the book is actually coming much faster since I've been here than it was when I was in New York.
Right. Mhm.
Hmm.
And for you mentioned one principle from the book, the
Hmm.
first one.
Hmm.
As you were, what was your process? Because now books are such a special thing, I will say. Consulting with one of the leading celebrity ghostwriting companies, I've had my fair share of book projects and just putting pen to paper.
Hmm.
Um, for you, what has that? I lost my question.
No, about writing the book.
Writing
Well,
a
first of all, I
book.
want to say shout out to Pollyanna Reed. She's the reason we know each other. Top ghostwriter, celebrity ghostwriter. She has amazing talent. That's how you and I met.
Yeah,
Um,
I actually stopped you at Penn Station and I was like, "Hey, you don't know who I am, but if I see somebody's face, I will always remember it." And I saw you and I came up to you and I'm like, "Hey, B, we need to know each other. I love the work that you're doing." And then here we
And
are.
that's how we're friends. And shout out to Naomi. Stop people on the street. Like New York is for people who want to connect, right? We're not in
Right.
the bookies, we're not in the suburbs. It's for people who want to connect. And Naomi turned my day around, y'all. Like I said, when you're in New York, you're always in your head. You're always thinking 3 steps ahead. And I was like fussed about something, and she stopped me, and I was like, oh, hello. Oh yeah, Pollyanna. Again, you have to add things to your life, right? Don't operate at a deficit. Add things to your life so you can get back to solid ground, right? And I love
Hmm.
talking to people deep in my heart. I just love people so much. I love young girls doing their thing, So
Yeah.
you really stopped and delighted me. And you're like, oh, I really like your work. And again, like I think badly about my work at this time. So you're
Mm.
somebody well about my work. So after that, I'm willing to do anything for you. And also you're so smart and like capable. Like my favorite feeling is to be impressed. And she's a very impressive woman. So shout out to the Power Podcast.
Thank you, B. I appreciate that. Where I was going with that was around your principles in the book and
Yes.
actually learning from your own life experience to impart wisdom and just, I guess,
Mhm.
be a possibility model for people who want to do things a different way.
Yes.
And so, can you tell us a little bit more about the principles in your book?
Yes, essentially, it is a self-help book and a self-empowerment book. And my goal is to, especially from a therapy perspective, a
Yeah.
lot of our work is about healing, and a lot of people have been hurt by things people have said to them. And I need your own inner voice to be much louder than what anybody else has to say to you. I unfortunately have seen people in their 50s and 60s who still operate as their childhood wounded self or their teenage wounded
Mm,
self or wounded self, when they weren't getting respect in their career or their marriage. It still influences how they move through the world in their 50s and 60s. So, like we say, prevention is profit. Anything I think most pain is preventable. As humans, we do have to learn through mistakes. A lot of people learn in school, but most people learn in error. So we are going to learn
yeah.
mistakes. We are going to love the wrong people. We are going to go down the wrong path. But there's ways to avoid it. And so one of the principles that I really believe is called data, not damage. It takes people a long time to recover from insults, setbacks, but it's just data. Now I know. Now I can make an informed decision next time. The thing about
Mhm.
therapy, we don't want to advertise, but it takes a long time because people maturing is unlearning, and people will repeat the same patterns, the same habits, and they don't realize that they're the problem, right? Like you could run into the same problems in Mexico than you can in New York, than you can in
Yeah.
Ethiopia, and it's you, right? Like you can't blame other people after a while. So you really have to know thyself. And also just feedback is so valuable. Like I'm not one of those people who gets defensive anymore because I'm glad when I get to learn so I can be better. You know what I mean? I mean, I get to, but overall, that's a really big one. Consider it data, not damage. Like, for example, my dad is obviously from Ghana. And when he came to America, 1980s Texas, this is before the Equal Employee Opportunity Act. They could
Hmm.
tell you to your face, which they did to my father, James, you're great. Even though he had 2 PhDs in public health, they're like, God, James, you're really great. And we want to hire you, but you're Black and you have an accent. And they could tell you that before. And now it's illegal. I don't actually, maybe it's the opposite. I think they took away DI. So because my dad was raised in Ghana, he didn't have that much experience with racism. So it didn't damage him as much as it would have if he was a child and where he had to understand, oh, it's bad to be black and have an accent. He was
Right.
like, oh, instead of like, I'm bad because I'm black, he's like, some white people are racist. So guess what? My kids aren't going to have an accent. So I have a white girl accent. Hey, y'all. And and
Nobody
then
can tell over the phone.
nobody can tell. They're like, Bea Arthur, I love your work. I'm like, thank you. And unfortunately, even though I don't speak my parents' tribal language, I do speak
Mm,
Spanish. So I don't speak Fonte, which is our tribe. And I have a posh or proper accent where people have been like, you're so articulate because they are surprised. Because guess what? My dad was like, that's not going to happen to my kids. So just everything is a lesson. Everything is a lesson. Nothing should be a deal ender or the end of your story. It's just part of your story. It's not the whole story. I always tell people, listen, this is just a station, not the destination.
mm,
Like get off, look around, smell the air, feel what you're supposed to feel about failure or marriage. Even good thing we change in relationships. Really spend some time there, but don't spend all your time there. The world is waiting for you. Get back on that train and go where you want to go. Go wherever you want to go. Yeah.
period. Yeah.
It makes so much
Uh,
sense to me. Do what you want to do, ladies.
yeah.
Mhm.
Once you start exploring the world, you realize how large it is and how many different
Oh, yeah,
experiences are available to you, you know?
exactly. Meet other parts of yourself.
Hmm.
And that's why I'm so excited for this. It's like not easy, right? Like I used to be able to say, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a therapist. And I'm like, well, I'm a writer. Is your book finished? No. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I live in Mexico. Do you speak Spanish? Like halfway there, but I have to embrace the mystery. I am
Yeah.
looking forward to meeting this side of myself. The dominant girl boss was, I did that for a long time, but there's other parts of me that want their time in the sun and they deserve that time to develop too. So I don't have all the answers right now. Yes, I'm a powerful creator, but I'm a co-creator in this life, and there's other people I need to meet, experiences that I need to have. Welcome that. You don't have to be in control of the whole story. I feel so much better since I took my hands off the wheel. Sometimes Jesus takes the wheel, sometimes Beyonce takes the wheel. Right now, Naomi is taking the wheel in this ride. And I'm glad to be in the passenger princess sometimes. I'm with it. I want to go wherever life wants to go. Yeah.
I love this for you. And I really hope that people hear this conversation and just explore other parts of them. Um,
Yes.
and are okay. Some of the greatest advice, Pollyanna has given me a lot of advice, but
She's
one of
good.
her specific pieces of advice for me was it's okay to get messy, especially as someone who's like prim and proper, like I'd
Mm,
like to do things a certain way. But I feel like that piece of advice really freed me from feeling like I need to do things a certain way. And I've learned so much. Like that was 6 months ago. And I've learned so much. I've grown leaps and bounds. I've grown my
exactly.
business because I was okay with it being messy and not having all the answers, you know?
Yes.
Um,
I think all of us, men and women, could benefit from performing less,
mhm.
especially building out loud and, announcing on LinkedIn or I'm thrilled to announce or whatever. You don't have to have a clean answer at every stage. You
Yeah.
need the cocoon part. You need the figuring out part. You need the messy montage in the movie. You need the third act. That's how you learn. So don't be so hard on yourself. Learn from it and move forward. Yeah, just allow yourself to be more than this limit. That's where I've seen successful people really struggle the most, just kind of limiting to themselves to like, well, I have to be this way. What if it could be a little, two standard deviations more? You might like it better.
There's
Yeah.
so that concept even around I really want to ask this question before we wrap up around people almost being like commodities, this idea that and
Mhm.
this is really part of the system
Yeah.
that
Yes.
you
Your
are a
product.
brand, you're a product, you need to be optimized. So like personal branding is one example of that, like constantly working, turning your hobbies into side hustles, feeling like you're always on, like there's no
Oof.
off button. What was your process of unlearning
Okay. We're smart, y'all.
self-commodification?
Solid. There you go. We got there. See, when you help each other, you know what I mean? We got there, you get there together. Yes, that was a really big thing for me that I'm grateful and I'm still learning and releasing. One of the best things that happened is, when your startup is starting to sunset, right? You are doing everything to save it, waking up, just like busy, even if you're not productive, just doing it, you're desperate. And my biggest fear was like, if I wasn't this, mental health mogul, then that was my whole thing. That was my whole thing. And I was at a party one day and I saw an investor who I'm friend, they had passed on me, but we stayed friends socially. And I said what I was working on. And I think I was just trying to do the difference as a nonprofit or something. Like it was on its last legs, like fumes. And she was like, "Oh, you're still doing the difference? I thought you stopped doing that." And at first I was like, "Oh no, it confirmed my biggest fear that people knew it had failed. They knew I had failed. It wasn't what I had promised or what I had imagined." But we were still at the same party. It didn't stop any meetings. You know what I mean? Randomly, people were still sending me things like I was the value, not the company. Like my fear was that nobody would like me, nobody would believe in me, they would think I was a loser. I was still getting invited out, and people thought I had done with the difference for months. I had been hiding out. I had been hiding myself from the world. Shout out to Drake, like because I was like, I can't leave until I'm perfect and I'm ready and I've, redeemed myself. Nobody wants that from me. Like I'm a good time. People know that I'm going to be fun. I'm going to be nice. We're going to have some therapy. We're going to have some laughs. And even if, like, I'm not here to give people stuff. God
Yeah.
didn't put me inside to just perform and show off and get press. And that's not what anybody wants for you. The people that love you don't want that for you. The people you're performing for do. And guess what? It'll never be enough for them. It'll never be enough for them. So stop trying. Like the people that you're enough for, spend time there. You can nourish there. You can grow from there.
Mm, this is really good. For people who are defining themselves by a past failure or like a betrayal or just a misfortune that's happened in their life, what would you invite them to do
Mhm.
in like the next 30 days?
Good question. So we have several exercises for this in the book because it is a part of life. I believe that if you are a powerful person, the road will not be easy, right? And yes, there's general advice, but there's some things you have to figure out on your own, right? So you have to say like, what is the blessing in this? What is the lesson in this? So again, it is not the end of your story, it's part of your story. And I think that when I was a therapist, people used to always take it as almost like a backhanded compliment when people would be like, "Oh, everything happens for a reason." Like, "Oh, my mom got murdered
Mm,
for a reason," or like, "I was used for a reason." And people, especially Americans, misinterpret that. It's not everything happens for a good reason. It's
mm,
like some things happen so that other things can happen, you know? Now that this has happened, I know that I can never be with a man who treats me like this. Now that this has happened, I know I never want to, have a huge company. I'll always be an entrepreneur. I don't need to have Facebook level empire. I don't want that life anymore. Now I know this. So you have to ask yourself, what am I willing to let go of so that I can make room for more things, right? Think that chapter, but close that book. There is so much more for you ahead. Like stop looking back there. You can't take that stuff with you where you're going, but think it. You did your best with the information that you had at the time. That was you who did that. You chose it. If you're a powerful person, you chose that. And you can choose something else. Give yourself another chance. Life is a whole bunch of chances. So, yeah, don't let yourself be defined by that time. Think it and let that bitch go. See you later, kiddo. I got growing to do. And that's that.
yeah. Every time you say you, I'm like,
Mhm.
dang, I feel like you really talking to me right now. And I think everyone listening, with level 10, uh,
I've been
uh,
there. It gets better. You do not, I've
yeah.
been there and you do not have to stay there. God doesn't want you to stay there. Last thing I'll say when I talk about the matriarchy, because I'm pretty feminist. I really love women and I want our respect and appreciation. And I was raised in the church and it always, that's why I don't respect rules so much. That's why I'm just always gonna do what I want. Like we talk about the Constitution. I'm not in the Constitution. Black people were like literally a fraction of the Constitution. Why I gotta listen to it and pay taxes? I don't believe in that, right? Same thing with like the Bible. Like women were not allowed to like be people in the Bible. There's so great stories, but one of the things that has always put me off is that it's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. right? But the Father, the Son, and the Holy Mother was right there.
Mhm.
How different would it be if we prayed to a Holy Mother to instead of a Holy Father, right? Shout out to the Catholics. Like, because instead of fasting, a mother, a woman God would never ask me to fast during a tough time. She would feed me. She would show me love. She would relentlessly show me love. That's what my mom does for me. That's what the women in my life do for me. There is no proving yourself or fasting or suffering through it, and suffering is good. That's not. And so a lot of it is love. Like, really take a bath in love. Whatever feels like love, spend more time there, and you will be able to hear things more. Because when you're in a space of scarcity, of struggling and suffering, like, it just takes a lot longer to get down there. And unfortunately, you do ingest some of those beliefs about yourself. I don't deserve this much. This is my fault, versus when you're in the loving embrace of a mom and the community, they just
Yeah,
want to feed you,
it's
make you feel
abundant.
better so you can get up again.
Yeah,
Exactly. So,
it's
so I pray.
abundant. It's
Exactly.
beautiful. It's soulful. Yeah. It's and honestly, that's what life is all about.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I love that you at the beginning used the word delightful. Like when I think about even when I think about business, when I think about my relationships, I always think about what are ways that you can delight people in ways that maybe they're not expecting, right? And so I love the idea of bringing that back to you as well, delighting yourself, taking
Yes.
yourself on dates, whatever it is.
We have a good
Um,
time in here. In this body, I'm wearing flowers. We have a good time in Bea Arthur in headquarters. Yeah.
I
Do
love
more stuff that makes you happy. I mean, that's literally the whole point. Nobody else is going to do it for you.
this is great. Thank you, B. I'm really looking forward to your book. I'm looking forward to everyone here who has had the pleasure of listening to this conversation. Definitely, we will have links to everywhere that you can find B online and where you can connect with her work. Where do you enjoy most online? You mentioned Pinterest earlier, but what is the
Yeah.
best place for people to connect with you?
Yeah, shout out to Pinterest. Get rid of the AI so I can enjoy it more. But yeah, my website is Bea Arthur Therapy. I take a couple of clients, but I also have a great network of therapists if you're ever looking to do this work and figure out this messy middle. That's my main website. And then of course we have the whitemanwithin.com. Please join my email list. I also started making content to grow my audience outside of the startup world and I'm the White Man Within on all channels, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I took a pause to move, but I'll be starting making content again soon. And yeah, just hit me up if you ever want to have a conversation about like living beyond your limits. The book is still being written, so I'd love to interview you, learn from you too. And yeah, just learn together and keep growing together. So thank you so much for listening to this wonderful interview. Thank you to you, Naomi. I love you so much. I'm so proud of you, and I'm really glad we got to spend this time together.
I'm so happy. Yeah, I love you too, B. And enjoy your time in Mexico, my girl. I would definitely need to make the trip out there.
Then, guapa.
Enjoy your fresh fruits, your fresh orange juice,
Good
and the
coffee.
sun.
Yeah. And everybody's sexy here too. People love with us.
Thank you, B. And thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of the Power of Why podcast. We will catch you in the next one.
Hey, bye.